My name is Victoria Lawson, and I'm 56 years old. If someone had told me that the most unbelievable morning of my life would begin with an ordinary phone call over breakfast, I would have laughed. But that's exactly what happened. My husband, Daniel, and I had been married for 22 wonderful years. He was kind, patient, and the one person who could stay calm no matter how chaotic life became. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was built on trust, honesty, and respect. Daniel had one daughter from his first marriage, Melissa. She was 32 now. Over the years, I genuinely tried to build a relationship with her. I remembered birthdays, attended graduations, celebrated promotions, and welcomed her into our home whenever she visited. She always smiled politely whenever Daniel was around, but the moment he stepped away, her warmth disappeared. Every conversation felt forced, every compliment sounded rehearsed, and every visit ended with subtle comments about family money, retirement plans, or what would happen one day. Daniel noticed it too. About 6 months earlier, he admitted something that surprised me. "I've started seeing a side of Melissa I've never wanted to believe," he said quietly one evening. He told me she had been asking unusual questions about his will, insurance policies, and even whether the house was already in both our names. Instead of confronting her, Daniel made a decision I didn't fully understand at the time. He quietly updated important legal documents and chose not to tell anyone except his attorney and me. "I hope I'm wrong," he said, "but if I'm right, the truth will reveal itself." I prayed he was simply being overly cautious. Then, exactly at 7:20 on a quiet Tuesday morning, my phone rang. The screen showed Melissa. I answered without hesitation. She didn't even say hello. Her first sentence made my heart stop. And beside me, Daniel slowly looked up from his breakfast plate, listening to every single word. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. Melissa's voice remained strangely calm, almost rehearsed. "Dad passed away last night," she said. "The attorney already has the paperwork. He left everything to me, Victoria. There's nothing for you anymore." Before I could answer, a man's voice laughed in the background. "Finally, my son-in-law," Eric said. "She's out." My hands started shaking. I instinctively looked at Daniel. Instead of reacting with anger or shock, he calmly wiped his hands with his napkin and gave me a small shake of his head. "Don't say anything." I switched the call to speaker. Melissa continued talking as if she were reading from a script. "You don't need to contact anyone," she said. "I've already taken care of the funeral arrangements. Dad wouldn't have wanted you involved. It's better if you just accept what he decided." Daniel leaned back in his chair, listening without interrupting. His expression never changed. When the call finally ended, I stared at him. "Aren't you going to call her?" I whispered. "No. She just announced your death." "I know. And she said she inherited everything." I heard every word. I couldn't understand why he was so calm. Then he quietly reached for his notebook, wrote today's date and exact time, and slid it toward me. "Write down everything you remember," he said.
"What?"
"Every sentence, every name, every detail." Only then did I notice something strange. Melissa had claimed the attorney already had the estate paperwork. That was impossible. Daniel's attorney had promised absolute confidentiality, and the updated documents had never been shared with anyone. Daniel folded his hands. "She knows something she shouldn't know," he said softly. "What does that mean?" "It means someone believed a story that was never true." Then he picked up his phone, called his attorney, and said only one sentence. "Our test just answered itself." After Daniel ended the call with his attorney, he finally looked at me with the same calm expression he'd worn since breakfast. "I owe you an explanation," he said. We sat at the kitchen table while my untouched coffee turned cold. "A few weeks ago," Daniel began, "I received a strange email from someone pretending to be a financial advisor. They wanted to confirm details about my estate. It felt wrong." He ignored the message, but similar questions kept appearing from different directions. Friends casually asked whether he had updated his will. Melissa suddenly became interested in our retirement plans. Even Eric joked about who would inherit the house someday. "It wasn't one thing," Daniel said. "It was the pattern." Instead of confronting anyone, He met privately with his attorney and reviewed every legal document. They discovered something surprising. Melissa had somehow seen an outdated copy of his old estate plan from years earlier. She believed those papers were still valid. She had no idea Daniel had legally replaced them months before. His attorney gave him simple advice. Don't accuse anyone. Let people reveal themselves. So Daniel stayed quiet. Every unusual question, every suspicious comment, every confident assumption was carefully documented. Now, after that unbelievable phone call, the pieces finally fit together. Melissa hadn't simply made a cruel mistake. She had spoken with complete confidence because she believed she already knew exactly how everything would unfold. I looked at Daniel across the table. So, what happens now? He glanced toward the window, where the morning sun had finally broken through the clouds. A faint smile crossed his face. Tomorrow, he said calmly, everyone stops guessing. They start telling the truth. The following afternoon, Daniel asked everyone to meet at his attorney's office. Melissa arrived first with Eric beside her. Both looked confident, dressed as though they were attending an important legal appointment. Daniel's younger brother, his sister, and two longtime family friends were already seated around the conference table. Melissa glanced at the empty chair at the head of the table and quietly asked, "Has the attorney started yet?" Before anyone answered, the office door opened. Daniel walked in. The color drained from Melissa's face. Eric's jaw dropped. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. "Dad," Melissa whispered. Daniel calmly took his seat. "I'm glad you both came." No one raised their voice. No one celebrated. Daniel simply pressed a button on a small recorder. Melissa's phone call from the previous morning filled the silent room. Every word echoed through the office. When the recording ended, Daniel's attorney placed a folder on the table. "These," he said, "are Mr. Lawson's current legal documents, signed and properly witnessed several months ago." Melissa stared at the pages without touching them. "They're different. They're the only valid documents," the attorney replied. Daniel folded his hands. "This meeting isn't about who receives my property," he said. "It's about discovering who is willing to write me out of their life before I was even gone." No one interrupted him. The silence was heavier than any argument could have been. Melissa slowly lowered her eyes. Eric looked toward the floor. Without another excuse or accusation, they quietly stood, walked to the door, and left the room together. The door clicked shut. For the first time in years, the truth spoke louder than anyone else ever could. Life slowly settled into a quieter rhythm after that meeting. The phone stopped ringing. The tension that had lingered in our home for years seemed to disappear almost overnight. Daniel and I found ourselves enjoying simple mornings again, sharing breakfast, taking long walks, and appreciating how peaceful honesty could feel. Nearly 4 months later, Melissa called. This time, her voice wasn't confident. It was uncertain. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I've made choices I'm ashamed of. I let assumptions, pride, and fear become more important than family." Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he answered with kindness. "I appreciate your apology, Melissa. Forgiveness is a decision I can make today. Trust is something we rebuild one honest choice at a time." There was a long silence before she quietly thanked him. Whether their relationship would ever become what it once was, neither of us knew. But healing had finally begun. As for me, I learned something I'll never forget. That unbelievable breakfast wasn't really about hearing the false news of my husband's death. It revealed who valued him as a person and who valued only what they believed he would leave behind. The greatest inheritance isn't a house, a bank account, or a signature on a will. It's integrity, because money can be divided, property can change owners, and possessions eventually fade. But a person's character, and the truth they choose to live by, will always be the legacy that matters most.